In this video, I'll show all the modifications I've done to my DOF Reality P6. The DOF Reality P6 is an incredible platform out the box, but since I've joined the DOF Reality Builders Facebook group, I've seen many modifications that have built upon the base idea. I'll cover many of these modifications that include the Sim Racing Studios Elite Shaker Kit and Double the Fan Kit Tube Edition, custom brackets I've made for Verpal and Thrustmaster gear, and additional mods I've made to improve the quality of life while on the platform. Be warned, many of these modifications will likely void your warranties as they are major changes to the base items. Let's get to it. The wheel deck struts have been reinforced to reduce flex at the steering wheel. This first mod was simply adding a piece of 3/4 inch steel tubing to the back of the original wheel deck struts based on Slavin's post on DOF Reality Builders Facebook group, which if you own a DOF Reality platform, you should immediately join. Link is below. This reduced the flex of the DOF wheel deck struts since they have a lot of mounting holes pre-drilled, so you can adjust the height of the wheel deck as well as attach a shifter mount. I then added a second set of DOF Reality wheel deck struts after how much reduction the single 3/4 inch steel tube made. You'll need to email DOF for a quote and an invoice. These two additions greatly reduced the flex of the wheel deck. In addition, I attached the wheel deck struts to the seat frame midway up to help reduce flex at the bottom joint. This was done by attaching an extra wheel support bracket, which you can also buy from DOF Reality, to the left side of the strut directly to the throttle HODIS mount. I wasn't able to use the extra wheel support bracket since it mounts to the center of the frame between your legs, and that's where I have my center mounted joystick. I simply turned it sideways and repurposed it as shown. The right side is a more complicated aluminum extrusion setup, which I'll cover later. The steering wheel deck was replaced with a 1/2 inch aluminum plate and Fanatec direct drive mounting brackets from Epic Sim Solutions. They only have a Facebook page and must be messaged via Facebook, so if you're interested, I've linked their page below. I provided a modified drilling schematic, so it includes the original Fanatec mounting holes in case I ever need to switch out my DD2 for my CS Elite wheel. I had them drill additional holes so I can attach each of the DOF wheel deck struts to the plate. These multiple attachment points along with the rigidity of the 1/2 inch aluminum plate reduced flex even further and has made the entire assembly rock solid. The Epic Sim Solutions brackets also allow the DD2 to be moved forward and backward on the wheel deck, as well as being able to be set the steering wheel at multiple angles to get it feeling perfect. The Verpal throttle is mounted using the DOF Reality HODIS mount kit. You can see where I attached the extra wheel support brace to the side of the HODIS mount and attached it to the front left wheel deck strut. I rotated the bracket rearward since it provided more support for a longer throttle plate, which was needed to add room for the Razer Tartarus Pro keypad. The only real change I made besides attaching the extra wheel support brace was replacing the throttle plate from the DOF HODIS kit with a larger one I had left over from a Fox mount kit. These are great desk mount solutions for joysticks and throttles, which I've linked below. The Buttkicker Gamer 2 remote control is attached to the HODIS arm that connects to the primary DOF frame. I added Velcro tape to the buttons to make it easier to feel the difference of the volume up and down buttons when I'm using it for VR. The Buttkicker Gamer 2 was mounted directly under the center frame using the DOF Reality Buttkicker mount, which you can purchase as an accessory. No other modification was made for its mounting. The Thrustmaster TPR rudder pedals are mounted onto the DOF Reality pedal plate with a 1/2 inch MDF board in between. This allows space for me to rest my heels when I'm using the TPR rudder pedals. Underneath, you can see how it attaches to the DOF pedal plate and how I attach the transducers from the Sim Racing Studio Elite Shaker Kit. These transducers provide the shaking feeling for the front, left, and right suspension shaking effects. When I want to switch out the rudder pedals for my Heusinkveld sprints, I simply remove the two attachment bolts on the right, take off the TPR rudder pedal plate, and attach the sprints via a second DOF pedal plate I purchased from DOF Reality. You can email them as well for a quote and an invoice, much like the extra wheel support struts as mentioned before. Here you can see the platform set up for road racing with the rudder pedals switched out to the second pedal plate with the Heusinkveld sprints attached. Below the pedal plate is a second set of transducers mounted for suspension shaking via the Sim Racing Studio Elite Shake Kit. The Sim Racing Studio Elite Shake Kit has been fully integrated into my seat padding with 2 transducers in the front pad and 2 under the rear pad. Foam padding was added to the bottom of the chair to absorb vibrations for motion compensation. The back 2 transducers were integrated into my lumbar support pad. All transducers are approximately 2 inches from the surface of the padding. The Elite Shake Amp is in a sound-absorbing enclosure vented on both sides for airflow. and I built an amp switch for the Buttkicker Gamer 2 to easily switch between the SRS Elite amp for in-game telemetry engine vibration and sound-based shaking using the Buttkicker Gamer 2 amp for space in combat games. The center-mounted joystick base is mounted directly to the primary frame using a custom fabricated bracket. The Virpil Mongoose T50CM2 base is mounted on a Virpil VPC Universal Compact base plate, which then has 4 aluminum spacers placed in between another fabricated bracket I created out of sheet metal that acts as a large square washer to the 4 bolts that attach the lower wheel strut braces to the center of the DOF frame. The aluminum spacers allow for space for the bolt heads that mount the wheel struts to the frame. When not in use, the base stays on the frame and out of the way. However, when I want to use the base for flight sims that have a central joystick, I simply attach the 200mm extension with the Thrustmaster Warthog grip attached. The right side joystick support is primarily constructed of 1020 aluminum extrusion that came from a Fox test mount, which is linked below. The aluminum extrusion sizing is as follows: a 455mm piece that extends from the wheel strut towards the chair, a 180mm piece that is attached on its side to the bottom of the shifter mount and the 450mm extrusion piece, and finally a 245mm piece that runs vertically down to a 305mm piece that runs underneath the chair. The DOF shifter bracket and aluminum extrusion both support the Fanatec shifter and handbrake. My 2 emergency stop buttons are mounted on the lower right side for ease of access if needed to be hit at the same time. The aluminum extrusion that runs under the chair is attached via 2 sheet metal brackets attached to the seat mounting crossmember. I needed to reinforce one of the brackets with an L-shaped bent piece of steel to eliminate torquing forces that would originate when pulling the joystick hard back during use. The right side joystick assembly is based on the DOF Lotus center piece. It is a 1-inch square tube where I JB welded 2 nuts over 2 holes drilled into the square tube. This allows 2 bolts to hold the joystick assembly in place, as well as be loosened to allow removal of the joystick. I used some extra material to remove lateral movement of the joystick when in position. The mouse bracket was made from sheet metal attached to the extrusion, and the trackball is held in place with Velcro tape. Hidden in the far back among all the wiring is a 3-shelf bookshelf I converted into a power strip holder and soundproof box for the Sim Racing Studio Double the Fan Tube Edition Power Wind Kit. The fans aren't extremely loud, but I focus on immersion, and any noise other than the gameplay I work to mitigate. I fabricated a front enclosure with holes for the fan tubes in the front of the box, and the entire inside is lined with sound dampening material, and the 2 fans are centered directly inside. To ensure there is proper airflow and to avoid the fans from overheating, the shelf is placed away from the wall, and large air ports have been cut into the back of the bookshelf. Additional sound dampening material is attached directly to the wall to mitigate any sound reflections. Overall, I'd guess it reduced the sounds from the fans by about 50% when sitting in the platform. The fan exhaust is mounted to a small rig multifunctional ball head clamp with a GoPro mount attached to allow for additional positioning as well as added rigidity to the 2 wheel support struts. An E-Element 88-key 60% mechanical gaming keyboard and tablet are attached to a Vivo monitor mount, which is then attached to a door desk nearby. Both the keyboard and tablet are attached to the monitor mount via Velcro tape and a small bracket I fabricated to support the tablet. The monitor mount arm is able to be adjusted up and down, as well as moved out of the way to make getting into the platform easier. A swing arm holder is used to hold the index headset when getting into and out of the platform. I also created a small bracket with a bolt attached to hold the unused shifter knob for the Fanatec shifter. This makes it easy to change out the shifter knob depending on if I want to quickly switch from an H shifter to a sequential shifter during the same gaming session. I also use 3D printed mounts for my Fanatec steering wheels, which can be purchased online. Interlocking floor mats protect feet while walking around the motors. They're simply just cut up and arranged so they protect anyone walking close to the motors and provide the arms to move easily. The seatbelt is a Tanaka 5-point harness where I only use 4 of the belts, and it is simply mounted to the seat assembly. I use Velcro tie wraps to keep the excess belt length out of the way. One final mod is the use of 2 fans connected to an Alexa smart plug so I can turn them on and off while in the platform. This keeps me cool during long play sessions. The information about the motion compensation bracket is in another video which I've linked below. Besides adding additional washers, lock washers, and longer bolts to the platform, those are all the modifications I've made to my DOF Reality P6 for now. Hopefully this helps anyone considering modifications to their platform. Never say you're done, as there is always something that comes along that will make the experience on our platforms that more immersive. Thanks for watching.